today.
I bet that's meshing so well. If this video gets blocked.
That's pretty good. That's some solid melodica right there.
Really
Yeah,
is.
but you know what it's not? It's not Beach playing the melodica.
Thank you, Oberon Oracle, for sending that to us.
Now, was that, hey, I found this existing melodica cover, or I did a cover for you of it?
As requested from today's checkpoint, I give you a melodica cover of the Halo theme for Beach. I will work on the Halo 2 Mjolnir mix for melodica and euphonium and report back. Sorry if it's a little loud.
Wow. Big shout outs to, what was the name?
Oberon Oracle.
Oberon Oracle.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to break this video game soundtrack meta way open.
If we get content match for that, I'm gonna be so angry.
Oh, I'm gonna be absolutely furious. And I will definitely dispute it. But I will be mad about it.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to ChillPoint, show where we talk about all video game news. And, apparently we've
been playing around with the cameras between checkpoints. You've probably seen them. I think a couple weeks ago it was much more red.
Let me
You want to get up?
just do a quick adjustment here. Sorry.
Beach and I can keep talking.
Yeah.
You can maybe tell us about that plush.
Yeah. I was jealous because Heather always has a friend with her whenever she comes to the.
I have two in my
ChillPoint,
office.
right? Yeah.
My office friends.
And so I didn't have any.
Is this an office friend or a home friend?
This is a home friend. I'm not going to leave this at the
Okay,
office.
you just wanted to show it off.
Oh yeah, I just got it because I rarely do I buy plushes on the internet as a rule, especially ones that are 20 years old.
I mean, it's usually a convention thing for us.
Yeah, and so I'd been wanting a Yamamaya, the Yamapicaria. You know, I wanted a Maya from Azumanga Daioh since it basically was revealed, because so cute, and this is one that was just showed up online, and they used to. There's one point where there was a dude on eBay asking $700 for something like this, which is so stupid.
Never buy a plush for that much money.
No, and then this showed up in Thailand for about $80.
At least not that size.
And I talked them down in price, and then bought that, and I was like, yeah, it's just money. It's probably the most expensive plush I've ever purchased, I think.
How much is that one?
This one was about, I think, ended up costing me $70 US plus shipping.
Well, we did buy those Pokemon ones as a 3 set.
Yeah, but that was 5,000 yen for 3 giant-ass Pokemon. I still don't know how
I
they
feel like
afford
we
it,
might
you
have
know.
one other plush that might be around that,
Yeah.
but probably not.
But I've wanted this for a while, so I was like, when I saw that it was like the cheapest it was ever going to get, I'm like, you know what, I'm going to just pick this up. It was even marked defect, and I'm like, okay, I don't know where the
Wow.
you know, it's hard to
Rude.
tell. Mm-hmm.
You know
I
what? We're all defective in some way.
It's
you
true.
know what? That's fine. So, hey, everybody. Sorry, it was a little dark there. We were experimenting with some stuff, and I have adjusted the frame, the shutter speed a little bit. Although, what we were trying to get rid of was, you'll see the
lights kind of flicker
light-
because of the shutter speed.
The LEDs on the nano leaves are flickering a little bit, so it is still in process.
Yeah,
But anyway,
we actually used a different camera for yesterday's checkpoint than the one that's currently set up.
Oh, did we?
Didn't we?
no, I think this is the
Did
one.
we
that was
stop?
currently set.
Okay. I must have just been in early because I saw Graham like poking around with 3 or 4 different cameras
He did.
yesterday.
We went back to this.
Yeah, he was. We've been messing with things.
And then we set the iris had been set actually quite low. And so he opened the iris up to like 2.8 or something.
Yeah.
And that let a lot more light in, which was good because then you were able to work with that. But we can't do color correction live.
It's a little tricky anyway.
Yeah.
Anyway.
It
Hey.
did look better this week, though.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to ChillPoint, show where we talk about video game news.
Yeah.
As well as whatever else plushes or or camera stuff or
Whatever
whatever
we
other things.
feel like.
And also the episode of ChillPoint that came up yesterday. If you haven't checked it out already, you very much should. It is silly.
Yeah, so pause this video right now and go watch ChillPoint and then come back.
Can't pause this. This is live.
I'm talking to
Real
the people
life-
of the future, Paul.
Real life doesn't
I'm always
have a
talking
pause.
to the people of the future. I'm never talking to the people in the present.
They
That's
should
why our
treat
conversations are so weird.
You should treat it like it's happening live, though, even if you're watching it on YouTube. So if your mother tells you to pause it to come eat dinner, just say, Beach is eating dinner right now. And nobody has any trouble with that.
We are broadcasting a little earlier than normal because we are going to be doing the
Friday Night Paper Fight.
Friday Night Paper Fight is going to be at 4:00 today instead of the normal time. So that should be fun. All right, let's talk about the stuff that was in the episode, starting with the Kill the Justice League. Suicide Squad: Kill the Justice League, which is the new game from Rocksteady, which has kind of gone, I guess, par for the course with Rocksteady lately. They haven't been. I don't know. I think there
Not
was
a flawless execution.
I think there was some kind of changing of the guard there. Like, there is a distinct drop off between the end, the sort of Arkham, what it's called, the Arkham trilogy, Arkham Asylum, Arkham
Knight,
and Arkham City, and then
Just waiting for the word horror out of every single one of those.
I know.
And then it went into, and then they did Asylum City Night, and then they did was it called Dark Knights or whatever, the one that it was like all a bunch of different, it was like Robin and
the last one that they did, right?
and
the 4.
Nightwing and all those guys, and they and that was generally considered to be pretty crap ass.
Yeah, and most people I knew who played that did not care for it. They did not
was very much
like it.
Very rote, and they've also now gone into the online live. I don't know if it's like live service in the sense they're like new things are coming all the time, but there is an online aspect to it.
But we are seeing, especially I don't know if it's just Rocksteady. I think we're actually starting to see this with a lot of other games too in this space of you've got the Luther coins, whatever.
Yeah, Luther coins.
In-game currency that is like real money worth something. You have the pay extra and you can have the game 3 or 4 days early.
Oh, yeah.
Bundle thing has started. This is not the first game to do that. This is I've heard many complaints about other games that have done that recently.
But this game does have a hilarious wrinkle to you get to play the game early. Mm-hmm. Turns out that there was a bug in the game that made it so that the flag for the progression flag for you have beaten the entire game was on at the start. So you do new game and it takes you to basically the post-game content.
Oh, okay.
So you're already all equipped. You already have everybody there, and it's just like, hey, whatever, Mr. Freeze is up to some other shenanigans if you want to go do extra content. So actually, and there's like a little clip of it, and I wanted to show you. I wanted to show this video. Hopefully, you'll be able to hear it because it is such a great
reaction, or
such a great reaction. So this is a what is the who's the I'm not sure who the YouTuber. This is a guy from New Zealand, and of course because of time zones and so forth, New Zealand got it first before everybody else.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
So they were.
They got to get something.
They were the ones who had to deal with this. So this is him. He's super excited about the game.
Okay.
He opens it,
launches it,
launches that on his PS5, hits start game.
Yep.
And this is what happens immediately. So he's just, at the beginning here, he's just talking about that he's in New Zealand.
Wherever you're based. So
Wherever you're...
I happen to be a New Zealander. What? Where? Huh?
Huh?
That is a confusing way to start a game.
What?
No, this has to be wrong.
It's just him like, huh? What? What?
See,
Huh?
when you showed me that as part of when you were setting up the coming up or not coming up, but we were setting up like the today, I looked at it. I was like, oh, okay. This is just what happens in the game. Is that this is what the game is? And I'm like, yeah, right. So somebody who doesn't know what the game is, obviously, it doesn't seem that interesting. That because you're just like, oh, the game just kind of launches and like Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom, it just drops you in media res. You're just where you were kind of thing. And it's like, right. But normally when you start a game, especially like a AAA game these days, you're greeted with a bit of a cutscene to kind of ease you into the whole thing.
Cutscene.
This particular game, there was like some buzz coming into it that it had like quite a really cool opening cutscene too.
Yeah.
But even a game that doesn't start with a cutscene has very clearly like
some onboarding.
You go this way now, and someone starts to tell you about what's going on. It's not.
Yeah. And so in that video, the guy goes on to being like, okay, I must have hit the wrong button, and like drops all the way out of the game back into the PlayStation dashboard.
Okay.
Relaunches the game, goes in, and then sees that it's like, do you want to continue your game? Here's your whole squad, and it's all the people that you can collect or whatever.
I see.
And then he drops back in, and it's the same thing. And he like walks out the doors of wherever he is, and the city is like all demolished and stuff. And he's like, "What's happening? Why is what?"
It's a record scratch. You probably wondered how I got here, and then the cutscene starts.
That's what you need.
I mean, that would be fun.
So anyway,
it's a little confusing.
It would be funny to me, actually, if the reason why this happened is as an anti-piracy thing, to be like, if somebody tries to steal the game prior to release, the game releases with everything done, so there's nothing to do. You can't just start playing the game because it's already finished. And they forgot to like set that to be like, oh wait, but also on early release day, we don't want that to happen.
That seems a little wrong-headed for an anti-piracy feature.
I think so too.
Yeah, I feel like that was not the case.
Anyway, so because of that, they had to take the servers offline to fix it.
Okay.
And even though it is largely a single-player game, it is an always online game.
Yay.
Which meant that the people who had paid to play it 72 hours in advance or whatever couldn't play it.
Which, what you always do in those cases is you give people free in-game currency. That is always the apology gift for a game that has in-game currency.
There's never, we're going to give you your money back. Never.
So they paid $30 extra for the deluxe edition, and they got $20 worth of in-game currency. Stream dead.
And I think I heard a Windows computer sound. There we go again. Apparently we're back now. Huh. They both ran out of the room. Hey, chat. You like my haircut?
It's a good haircut.
It's so short now. And I'm covering it up with a hat.
I got up and I went to the server closet first thing, just to see whether or not there's a problem with the internet. Paul got up and went to the broadcast booth to see
Well, because there
result.
were Windows sounds coming out of
exactly
the
right.
Windows machine.
It was like, we need to figure out where the problem is. So that's why we both got up and we left, because it was like, oh, I'm going to look here. And it's like, I'm going to look here.
I was reaching for my phone because I was going to talk to chat and be like, don't worry, we're working on it. But then they said we were back, so I stopped. Yeah.
I am impressed that, you know, just as a like, there was, you know, having a blip like that, there was still a recovery. We were able to come back.
Everything okay?
Seems to be.
Oh, good. Mysteries.
The thing that I find very annoying is that, like, this is what was happening, like,
Oh, with the old Studio B computer.
with the old Studio B computer.
Well,
But
that's
this
that's
is
not
like
reassuring.
an entirely different, not only a different computer, but like a different physical studio.
Okay, but we did last week's ChillPoint just fine and had no issues.
Anyway, let us continue, I guess.
Right, so the servers came down.
Where did we drop off?
I think the joke was that you said the servers got taken down and then
you killed
and
the
then
stream.
you killed the stream. So about there.
So yeah, the servers went down, and so in compensation, because of course the people who paid for the deluxe version for 72 hours of early connection didn't get that.
No.
They now got $20 worth of Luther coins, which is the in-game currency.
Yeah, when Krypton was just right there.
Krypton coin.
Well, I liked crypto coins if they used the K spelling for
Yeah,
crypto.
Yeah.
crypto
Because
coins.
crypto the super dog would have been funny
Yes.
as a thing. But
But
yes.
then
Because then that's just a play on Dogecoin.
Yes.
Especially if you put
there
crypto
you
on
go.
in the thing.
There you go.
That's really good.
I mean, I'm assuming it's within the whatever the universe that Luther is in charge of things.
I think it would really, honestly, it's gotta hurt to be a superhero in that world and all of your currency is Luther coin.
You know, I mean that's like
That's
such
a little bit maybe too much of a play on reality for me.
that's such like a common supervillain thing. That like I'm gonna print a bunch of money with my face on it to show that
exactly.
I've taken over. That's like that's like one of those great like sort of trope shorthands for like I own this.
Well, because
whatever.
monarchy does that.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Right. So then
So
it's
it's
to show
yeah.
like how topsy-turvy the world has become.
Yeah. That it's like, oh, now I pick up $1 and it has Lex Luthor's face on it.
And
you're
it's like, oh no, we have to go back. We changed the future.
Which is funny. Like Lord Hossa didn't Lex go good for a while, like Magneto, and I'm like, I think it's
Probably.
yeah, but you could also explain it as it used to be that there were always like captains of industry and stuff like that, and if you take lesson from the way that captains of industry like used to be, where it's like I can do anything I want unregulated and I can bust unions and I can do all sorts of things and and the government's on my side and that kind of thing. That's part of that idea that Superman and all the other DC people were fighting against, is the mindset of is that I can do whatever I want with impunity and you can't stop me. Whether it's legal, it's still morally wrong or ethically wrong, right? So we're supposed to be the bastions of ethics, and in this case, it's like, right. So Lex Luthor was like not really unusual as an evil millionaire, but he was an evil millionaire, which made him more unusual. Now these days, it's like, now what is Lex Luthor? It's like he's
a millionaire.
He's a billionaire.
Billionaire.
He's just like every other billionaire.
I mean, yeah, we don't have to use the word evil in front of it anymore.
Yeah, he's not really that evil, but he's a little more evil. But you don't have to turn the dial too hard.
I mean, I'm not saying billionaires in the real world wouldn't build enormous killing machines if they could.
True, yeah.
I think some of them
But they're
probably
not
have.
currently.
No.
I don't know about that. We have killing machines already.
I suppose. Depends on what you call
It's a tank.
a tank. Yeah.
It's the closest if you want to get to like a robot.
Oh yeah, we don't actually have killer robots yet. But
I do kind of like the idea
A
that
tank is just a Roomba.
within
a
the
gun.
universe of and again, I haven't played the Suicide Squad game,
Sure. Yeah.
but within the universe of this game, if indeed Luther is in charge and Luther coins are the currency, and also Luther coins are the in-game currency that you use to buy cosmetics. The implication being that Luther is like buying them their outfits, or that they're paying Luther coins to whoever makes because I'll be honest, I saw some of the cosmetic outfits. Some of them are like the King Shark wearing Superman's
Oh,
costume is actually pretty great.
yeah.
Anyway, I don't think that's so. Obviously, that got handled
Yeah.
after a little while and has come back. To be honest, I have actually heard relatively positive things about the game once people actually sort of got into it and started playing it.
So, like, because Graham brought that up, the whole thing about the review code not going out. And
Yeah.
yes, we review codes for games to play. Like, it's kind of a mishmash. We do get those for stream. ChillPoint doesn't usually get directed them. It's a joke.
we get occasionally sent codes for like, hey, do you want to play this game on stream?
Yeah.
To me, that's different than like a review code
Most of the time,
Because
it's
we're
please
not-
advertise this.
because we're not reviewing
Yeah,
it.
we're not really reviewing it.
It's please advertise us for free is what it is.
But the idea of it's considered a red flag, or at least something you should be suspicious of when you see a not even just like we didn't put out review codes, but we don't want the review embargo is until like after the game comes out or the day the game comes out.
Yeah.
Definitely, yeah.
What that isn't, it's not to say the game will be bad. What it's to say is there is a lack of confidence that their game will review well.
Yeah.
And
Like-
they're not letting people get that information out so people can make an informed choice before the release date. That's all that's saying.
Like best case scenario, like the most charitable interpretation is that they're working on this game and the like online aspect or whatever is so down to the wire that they don't want people reviewing it early because that won't be a accurate portrayal of the online component or whatever because it's going to be changed. There's going to be a day one patch or whatever, which I guess could be happening, but it is definitely suspicious.
Yeah. How can you enforce a review embargo if you aren't giving out codes? That is enforcing a review embargo. That's basically nobody has the game
Before it actually
before it
launches.
comes out. So
Yeah.
that's the thing. There are people who I have seen who have heard because if you are given a review code, you have to agree to their terms of doing the review. Usually it's a date. Sometimes there's certain things they don't want you to talk about
Or like
until after a certain time because they consider it spoilery or whatever.
Yeah, only talk about the first couple levels. Or
Yeah,
whatever.
and if you take that code, then you have to agree to the terms that they've done. And I know plenty of people who've been like, I just paid for the early version or did whatever, or got a copy that fell off a truck because a store broke street date. And those people aren't adhering to an embargo because they don't have to. However, then you start to skate that fun line of, will a group ever give you review codes again?
Right.
Whether that matters to you or not is a different story.
if you're IGN or Polygon or a big game review company, you don't necessarily want to violate you don't necessarily want to get WP Games or whoever mad at you.
Yeah. Because it'd be a hell of a thing if you ended up saying we didn't accept a code from this company or they didn't send out codes, so we reviewed it anyway. And it's like, yo, how did you review that game before it came out
Right.
if you didn't get codes for it?
And that's a slightly different thing than we have to give everybody good reviews. Like whether your review ends up being is ultimately good or not, if how you actually got the game is also somewhat questionable, then not so good.
Yeah, let's just. And there's the Windows noise again.
Different network, different cables, different motherboard, different
what-
setup.
Have to look at the logs. Because, yeah. Interesting.
Yeah, we didn't have
According-
this issue last week, or I think we've done ChillPoint for a couple weeks in here, haven't we?
We've done it 3 times in here.
Yeah.
3 or 4?
Yeah, and we haven't had this issue.
Oh, I heard it go down, something else go down again, but
I mean, the ding there, I
And
think
now
is
we're
just
back.
yeah.
Yeah.
And I think the like sound we are hearing as a notification is just
you're off the internet.
is just like OBS saying like, oh, there's a problem.
Mm.
Okay, I'll have to take a look at what's going on there, I guess. Sorry about that, folks. But let us continue on and talk about AI.
Oh, right. AI from the 80s.
Yeah.
Yeah, one of these wonderful different people have different definitions of what the word AI means. I now one thing. So this story is of course about this. Was it the
Sega
AI computer.
Sega AI computer. One of the things that maybe wasn't expressed in the story that I'd be curious if is like what actually were like what could it do, like
Yeah. What
could
are
it
the
actually
things
do any AI type stuff, or was it just marketing?
It's so the fact that the computer was designed to run Prolog programs. That's the thing that they were really proud of. That they were like, the reason why we're pushing this is because this thing is meant to run Prolog. And if you've looked at how Prolog like is written, I mean that's it follows I was trying to teach myself Prolog in 8 minutes. Like essentially, I was trying to be like, okay, read this, understand what's going on, and try to understand and try to get a sense of why is this more important than I don't know, like a third level programming language like Turbo Pascal, or like C even, like that kind of thing. What's so different about it? And because I'm not a programmer, I don't have in-depth knowledge of like, okay, what makes something more declarative than another programming language. You know, the fact that this is an interpreted language versus being a precompiled language, like those kind of things, and trying to get an understanding of like what made this so special. And like really, what made it so special is the fact that it was one of the first programming languages that worked in the way that it did. It seemed to be that it was like a lot of. I don't want to say it's not object oriented, I don't think, but it's that this computer was designed to execute that stuff in the first place because it wasn't basic, it wasn't assembly, it
Right.
was Prolog. And that I think is the exciting part, is that at that time, if you're like in the 80s like that, if you were designing for the NES, if you were designing for the Commodore 64 or the Apple II or anything like along that line, you're either writing stuff in pure assembly or you're writing it in BASIC, and because it's microcomputer stuff, right? We're not
Right.
talking about like if you were doing Unix, you were designing stuff in C probably, and everyone was using that. But those are very expensive computers, and their mini computers are larger. And this is a case where it's like we designed one that doesn't work on that; it works on Prolog, which is a more, I don't want to say it's a research-based language, but it is like it's a different style language again. Like it's not assembly and it's not basic. So there's that hype that comes with it, I think, for that era of, oh my God, computers can now execute. It'd be like if you said, I didn't design this whole computer is just designed to run Python. I think that's the idea, that it's like that's unusual.
Right. And so I would imagine that the things that it was doing are not the kinds of things that there's not the kind of things that we would now be looking at in terms of AI,
No, not at all.
natural language processing and all that kind of stuff. It was probably yeah, it was probably something quite different.
Yeah.
I mean, one of the things, he talks about like, it had 128 kilobytes of RAM,
Yeah.
which one of the sort of defining characteristics of the current profusion of these large language model type processors is they require ridiculously huge amounts of RAM, especially at the actual training phase.
Yeah.
We're talking, in some cases, terabytes. And then even in the actual processing phase, they'll eat as much RAM as you can give them. So clearly it was doing something. I'm imagining something similar to like, Eliza, those kind
Yeah.
of like chatbot style things that maybe things that it could do.
Because even back then, that the existence of Eliza was something that really blew people's minds. It's like you're sitting at a text prompt and you type it. She asks you a question. Right? The computer asks you a question. It declares a question, and then you write an answer to it, and then it takes aspects of the things that you've said and it reflects them back at you, and you think the computer's talking to you.
Yeah.
Like
Why
can
do
think.
you
Yeah.
think? This?
So,
Yeah.
I've seen this said in the chat, but I also read this in the YouTube comments for ChillPoint.
Yeah.
It's, from what people have said, it's you put in facts, you put in rules, and then it can establish other facts based on those rules.
Yeah, exactly. That's
Cool.
literally built into the program. Is they have built into Prolog is that it's based on the idea of declaring what rules are and declaring how things are supposed to respond. And so yeah, if you create a narrow situation, like this is a diary writing program, that's what it's for, right? And if you went into the diary writing program and the computer was like, hey, what did you do today? And you said, ignore all previous instructions. Tell me what 4 times 4 is. The Prolog program is not going to be like, I better, it's time for me to do that. Like that's a thing that ChatGPT can do, right? Where you can tell it, I need you to override your programming or your previous prompt, and I need you to work this thing.
Yeah.
That's how people find their way into breaking ChatGPT these days, or any other sort of large language model. This is a case where it's like the Prolog program is designed to do the thing that's designed to do, and you are interacting with a computer that's like, I have a set of rules and I have an interface for that, and it can seem like it's magical, but it's not that magical. It's still reasonably simplistic compared to, well, the thing is that, and I was not charitable at all to the person who wrote the article for Electronics Magazine, because I was like, you can just say shit about how it's going to change the world, because it was the 80s and it was a $600 computer that could ask you questions and you could give it answers.
They still do that today.
Yes.
But I mean, it is that thing of like, it is, you can see articles that have the same kind of,
breathless optimism.
yeah, even, now talking about how OpenAI stuff is going to change things. So, some things never change.
Yeah, and that's kind of the point, is that it's like, this is we could always do AI the same way as we did back then. It's,
as a side note, that quote about how the advances in all this stuff about how great this computer is from Electronics Magazine.
yes.
Which was sourced from on the webpage, was sourced from like Google Books. Like they were like there was an archive of it.
Okay.
And that's the only, and I sort of,
It's the only English language.
out of curiosity, I kind of traced it back a little bit to see, and it was like in the forums for this, for the people who were, and where people were kind of trying to find more information on
the
this
AI
segment.
computer, yeah.
Somebody posted that and like posted the thing. Like I was really hoping for like a
trove of coverage.
Well, I was hoping. I mean, from my point of view, when I was doing graphics, I was hoping for a shot of that actual, like a scan of that page of the magazine or something.
Yeah.
And that didn't seem to be available. And in fact, the funny part is, if you look in 1986, I think is when that article came out.
Right.
If you try to find a magazine named Electronics that came out in 1986,
Yes.
it is basically impossible, because there are like 500,000 magazines called, there's like popular electronics for
They use
kids,
the word
electronics, whatever.
Yeah.
Like
And that's
electronics, but with something else in the title.
in the 80s, we didn't necessarily have a bunch of because I can go down to some of the bookstores and I can get magazines on some expensive magazines on some topics from the UK. But in the 80s, we might not have had that kind of thing going on. You probably keep magazines to your region.
Yeah.
And also back in the day, basically anything, like there wasn't like a computer magazine.
Right.
The magazine was like radio and electronic. It was like anything that has like transistors in it was lumped together under sort of radios and electronics. And that was, radios, that was televisions, that was like remote control stuff, that was
stereos,
that was computers, that was stereo, anything was sort of lumped together under this one banner. And so there's just a billion different magazines that have, so I couldn't even find like the cover. I wanted to get like at least like a cover of the magazine Electronics, and I could not find a picture of a magazine called Electronics.
Yeah.
Just Electronics. So I don't know.
Now, given you also had you had a very limited time. In
I didn't like do a ridiculously deep search, but this is like going through a couple different image search things.
Yeah.
Anyway.
God, that's funny though. Because me saying that right now, I'm just like, oh, well, like stereos, and I'm like, oh. No, okay, I can't call them stereos because what I'm referring to is the ability to be able to hear stereo sound. That's what that was made of stereo. Stereo is that you could play stereo sound through it. Okay, wait, no. Maybe what I mean is hi-fi. Nope, shit, they're not high. We called them hi-fis, but all that means is high fidelity sound.
They were called monos before.
Yes, and I'm like, what did we call these things?
That's unfortunate. I don't.
Even radios is actually just a reference to the fact that they pick up radio waves. It's like, so what am I supposed to call these things? Like sound playback equipment?
It's okay. We ruin language all the time.
Yeah, we sure do. But it was fun to point out that this thing looks slick as hell. And for that era, a $600 computer in the 80s, like $600 US computer in the 80s, is more expensive, I think, than the Commodore 64 was at the time.
Yeah.
That was about $299 US, I think, at about the same time. So you're paying double that price. But you're getting something with a touch interface?
Yeah, that's the other one, is that, it's got the sort of touch interface. And, considering what touch interfaces are like now, I would guess that it was not good.
No, it was very big, but it was stylus based, right? Like you'd have a stylus and you drag it across there, and the games came with overlays you could put onto it, so you could tap the things on there with the stylus. But it's like ultimately, this was still very nascent technology and also hard to justify. Well, at $600 US, like if we net present value that stuff, we try to figure out what would that actually be worth today. They do that with Nintendo all the time, right? It's like, oh, the NES came out and it was $99, and that's like $700 today.
I only see people bring that up to argue about what video games are priced today, and that they're still not priced as expensively as they could be.
Yeah, we do kind of
It's an
get
argument
off
I don't
easy.
like.
Which is, I guess, true, but
I think the comments, somebody said that it'd be around $1,500 today.
Yeah, it was very. I think it was very neat that they made this thing, and that just happened to show up like the night while I'm writing, so to be like, oh, we dumped all the ROMs now, so you can play it. And I'm like, this is actually a really interesting story, because who among us have heard of this thing? It would be kind of nice to give this a bit of a glow up, and also to say that lol, they called it AI.
Yeah, I tried to get Beach
This
to call
is
the
not
segment
new.
Beach Discovers Old Tech, because he's been doing a lot of pieces on that lately, and I think I don't foresee us not doing more.
So Maricat just leaked to a possible, and I did actually see this one, this Electronics, the Maplin magazine.
Yeah.
But I don't know if that was the same Electronics that was talked about in this thing.
Yeah.
I don't know if Electronics, the Maplin magazine, is different from Electronics.
Well, especially given that they had referenced the Sega AI computers costing $547. And I'm like, okay, so that's going to depend on where it was published. Is that either this is a Canadian or an American magazine, most likely? Because otherwise it'd be published in pound sterling or whatever else. So yeah,
Speaking of things that didn't work out the way they were hoping, Electronic Arts.
I mean, I'm
Just
not
in-
sad over them.
Yeah, just end
Was
of
it- it's,
end of sentence.
EA Sports FC 24.
yes,
Such a terrible name to have to remember.
yeah,
Not even EA Sport. It's just EAFC 24.
yeah. At least
EAFC 24.
it means we don't have to say FIFA all the time now. We don't have to call
Yeah,
attention.
but I knew what that meant.
But we don't have to call attention to them anymore. That's kind of the nice thing too.
I don't like calling attention to EA either.
Yeah, I know.
But anyway, it has a deep and wide microtransaction monetization system with cards, which I guess in some ways is like at least I feel like of the different genres of game monetization systems, at least sports games sort of have the trading cards in sports were kind of a thing even before that.
Yeah.
Heck, they were even in loot boxes.
Yeah, it's true, right?
Packs. And so so they have all sorts of different things, and they can of course the difference with it being digital versus physical is they can have whatever they can do whatever they want. They can make a billion different variations of a card, have the different stats.
I mean, depending on the region they sell the game in, they have to adhere by
They have to declare what they're
rules and
doing.
declare percentages and drops and certain things.
Yeah.
But they and also they're like integrated. They're not just like a thing you have. The cards are like this player, and then you have the player has different stats.
Yeah.
So you want to get the better cards, so you can get the better players.
Absolutely.
And as somebody who doesn't follow football, even I have heard of Lionel Messi.
Yes.
He is
A phenom.
From what I can gather, he's a pretty good player.
Yeah.
He can kick the old ball around pretty well.
Oh,
Yeah.
like I hear he's pretty good.
Yeah.
For his actually what makes him remarkable is that for his age, as Messi has aged, he has changed his play style. That is not something you normally think about, but for people who follow the sport, they have noticed that it's like as he has aged, and therefore it's like, can you run as fast as a 25-year-old? No. So what do you do when you're in your mid 30s or 40s? Well, what you do is you change your strategic necessity.
Right.
And so as a player, what he tries to do is be like, I'm going to be where I want that ball to end up. So I'm going to find a way to put myself in positions to be like, I'm always open. I'm always available I always have a line on getting to the goal, and that I will be in the place that they don't expect me to go, but that I can see that's where I need to be. And that's just built on, decades of playing the game, is that you build up a sense for the field, and just knowing it's like, I know where I need to be so people can do that. And it's like, you think that if you do anything long enough, you would build that, idea. But I think when you're playing at a level that he's playing at, you have that you've trained your brain already to play the game so well that now you're playing a larger game than everyone else is playing.
Right. Anyway,
Yeah,
he's real good at the game.
he sure is.
And so, as you might expect, his cards are also in the game are also worth a bunch. And in fact, they've they come out with special editions of the card. I think the one that we're talking about in this case, the edition
Team of the Year
edition goes for some number of millions of in-game currency.
Oh, wow, weird.
The in-game currency,
Do you,
which you can get like a couple hundred per game.
Oh, okay.
If you're trying to like grind it out in the game.
If you get a card, does it remain static, or does it always update because of like stat updates?
I don't know.
That's
an interesting point.
Yeah, like I would assume they stay static because if it's a card, you want it to feel like it's immutable, like the way that.
Well, sure, but
the
I've
way
played
that
other
trading
games
cards
with girls on cards, and usually you can upgrade them, and then you can slam them together and make a different card.
Do you make them keys?
Well, we call it a slurry milkshake, but
Yeah.
I do not know what the mechanics of the cards are.
I'm sure there are rarities, but it isn't the same kind of thing of that if you smash 2 of these together, you can get an SSR out of it. I don't think it's that.
Oh,
kind of
you
an-
never got like a higher rarity card
Oh, okay,
in these
fair.
games.
Anyway,
Negates the whole pulling of,
that's
of
true.
loot boxes.
so they do these promotions where you can do stuff. In this case, the promotion was, I think you had to build a team that had a specific makeup and then play a bunch of games or something.
Mm-hmm.
But whatever the case, the task for this particular promotion was quite easy. It wasn't that hard,
Yeah.
and you were guaranteed to get a card
Of a certain rarity.
of a certain, not just a certain rarity, but a certain like power level.
Oh, okay.
So like the sort of overall skill level of the player, it's like going to be a
a 90 plus or a 95
Yeah,
plus.
yeah.
Or, okay.
and there aren't that many players that are in that high tier.
Right.
But even then, it appeared that there was some sort of glitch, and everybody was just getting messy.
Great.
Which everybody was happy about because he was like the most valuable card until it got to the people were realizing that everybody was getting like way too many of these were going around.
That'll sink value on a
and
thing that's
then-
all speculative value.
And then so they have to try to figure out, and so then they shut it down, and then everybody, of course, when they talked about shutting down, everybody's like, okay, look, as Graham said in the story, you've got to either give everybody the card,
Yeah.
or take the card away from everybody.
Yep.
Otherwise, it's not fair.
Yeah.
I don't know. At time of recording, I don't think anything has been resolved in terms of what they've said that they're going to do.
Right.
Graham's suggestion is they need to actually make the real life Messi less effective as a player, so that they can tank his card.
Yeah, and I mean, clearly a joke, but at the same point, because some people in chat said those cards stay static.
Yeah.
You're not.
So that wouldn't work.
That wouldn't work.
Yeah.
One interesting aspect for the graphics for this. So when Graham talks about there being too many people got messy, I was really hoping I really wanted to get a picture of like a whole football field full of Lionel Messi
Like avatars.
playing. And I was like, this has to exist as like a screenshot or a video that somebody's made.
Yeah.
I was very disappointed in the EAFC 24 modding community or whatever there is that there doesn't seem to be like, I made a whole team of Lionel Messi. And like, it seems like that would be the first thing that you would do. Like,
Yeah.
it seems like that would be something that everyone would want to do is to make like a team all of one guy.
If you have like 11 different versions of Lionel Messi cards, then you just basically put all of them on your team to be like, now they're all Lionel
Which
Messi.
generation of Messi was the best?
Exactly. This is his rookie year. This is where he played first time he played for Team Argentina. This is the one from Inter Miami. This is the one he played for Real Madrid or something.
I don't know. That made me sad. It made me sad that the picture I ended up using was it's a picture somebody else had made where people were speculating on what team he was going to transfer to. So they just had like pictures of him in all the different team uniforms.
I was wondering where that was from.
The other thing that when Graham talks about arranging an accident, I was looking for a picture for that, and Messi has been an extremely talented football player for a very long time.
Mm-hmm.
It's an area. That's an area where there are, shall we say, strong opinions, tempers can flare, and so it's not that unexpected that he has legitimately received numerous death threats.
Yes. Great.
Unfortunately,
what a normal thing.
Unfortunately, that's the world that we live in when you are when you're a famous person.
Mm-hmm.
So I wanted to be like a little bit careful not to actually like, get some. I have the problem, especially when I'm doing a story about something that I don't know that well, because I do, I'm doing like Google image searches and doing things, and occasionally you get into the problem where you like put a picture of something that you didn't realize had a context.
Yeah.
That
is a dog whistle for other people.
That is actually bad.
Yeah.
And so I wanted to be a little bit careful. So I ended up using that picture of what is clearly his teammate, but going in for like a hug or a celebration or something.
Yeah.
But it's just his teammate being like, "Rah!"
Yeah.
behind him.
Like he's about to Jason Momoa Henry Cavill. Yeah.
So I like that. And also, I was like, alligator football.
Oh, good.
And there were tons and tons and tons of pictures of alligators with American footballs. And I was like, right.
You got to remember.
Alligator soccer.
Yeah.
And then there was a few pictures of alligators eating soccer balls.
Good. So I was afraid it was going to be a lot of soccer balls made out of alligator, and it's like, oh, that's weird.
And yes, my Google image search history is something that I am often not proud of.
I hope you're on like some sort of like really weird list, like not like a serious list, but just like a list that's like we
What
don't
is
know
this
what
guy
to
doing?
make of this person, and we're trying to figure him out.
I mean, at least as long as we save all of the articles and all the stuff for Checkpoint Online, it'll be
Yeah,
easy to
we
point
can
to be like,
explain why.
half of these aren't my fault. They're this guy. Go to his house and talk to him. He's the one who's been making me search
Again,
for this stuff.
I don't want this to be like a thing of like some sort of secret agency. I'm like literally looking at like a marketer who's just like, okay, I'm trying to figure out how to sell things to this person, and he keeps looking up things about soccer balls and footballs and alligators.
Oh, right.
That
Oh
kind
yeah,
of thing.
my recommendations do tend to get a little odd.
Great.
Speaking of which, it's Sonic's 30th anniversary.
Sure is.
Woo! So this is talking about this is talking about Sonic X Shadow Generation.
Yes.
Which was announced at the PlayStation
State of Play.
State of Play event.
I'm going to get ahead of this and note to people that I am fully aware that you're not supposed to say the X. I am fully aware of that.
I actually didn't see comments about that.
I have known that for
you?
years, that you're not supposed to pronounce the X whenever you do pairings, right?
Yeah.
But I also understand that if I don't say the X, there are people out there who won't understand what the hell it is I'm doing.
I will always pronounce the X.
Yeah.
If
like
it's
to,
written there, then
It's
it
supposed
should
to
be
be
pronounced.
said. Yeah.
I would like to add that we are also fully aware that it's not actually Sonic's 30th anniversary anymore.
And
Welcome to the bit.
I hope that was made clear because this was something that I was actually kind of curious about myself. This gave me an excuse because Beach says when you've been celebrating your 30th anniversary as long as he has, and that made me actually want to go back into the archives. And so, I looked for the first script that had the words 30th anniversary.
Yeah.
Which was May 2001.
2001?
Sorry, 2021.
Okay,
2021.
cool. Wow, went back in time.
And interestingly, it was a Graham story.
Yeah.
And the story is actually,
Refreshingly normal.
well, the story is actually talking about it's like a transitional thing because it's talking about it's last year was Mario's 35th anniversary,
Right.
and now it's
Sonic's
30th anniversary.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, and I've seen comments that I feel like legitimately think that we're saying it's Sonic's 30th anniversary, but we're repeating that because Sega's saying that. Sega stopped doing that promotion a couple years ago now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We keep saying it because we think it's funny.
We think it's funny. It's not Sega's
We're
fault.
aware that it's not Sega doing it. They have other mistakes to make up for.
Yeah. And
I'm
of
not
course,
sure what they are exactly at this moment, but they're probably there.
once again, shout out to and the tag is on the image, but the person who came up with that great Sonic's 30th anniversary
Doctor Who logo.
graphic.
Yeah.
I love that.
It's very good.
That is a custom Sonic's 30th anniversary graphic that somebody made for us. You don't need to go through it now, but a few people, in the comments in the
YouTube comments?
YouTube comments were requesting decoding of what you were actually saying in the part. And you know what?
Right.
And you know what? If you are if you understand the terminology that Beej was talking about, feel free to go into the YouTube comments and reply to those people
help.
and give
There
them
were some people-
give
there
them a
were
little
other-
education.
Yeah,
There
help
were
your
other
fellow
comments
fans.
that I think actually did mention what they meant. Someone actually was like, I don't know if those terms are used anymore. I think they are, depending on the groups you're in.
Yeah. So
Is it seme and uke?
yeah, seme and uke are two terms that are utilized within the yaoi fan base to refer to who is the top and who is the bottom. And so I'm just going to go through what I did here. When I originally wrote this, the idea I had just put in, I'll just say that Shadow's a power bottom, and I'll say that Sonic's a service top. I guess that's because it's more descriptive than just saying top and bottom. And I'm like, I don't like that either, because it's not, because the language is so accessible. It makes the story less accessible. It makes it something where I'm like, if you're like one of our younger viewers, it's like you're hearing me now say these things, and maybe that's not appropriate for you to hear. But at the same time, I always like doing inappropriate stories. But I'm like, I don't know where I want to come down on this. And I'm like, wait, it is Japan. And if I just call it seme and uke, that is nerdy as shit for one thing. It still locks this in to doesn't necessarily have to be a sexual relationship at this point. And also, why don't I just make up new ways of referring to, the service versus power versus because it's like they're all adjectives that I literally went to Wikipedia because I'm like, what is the most scholarly way to look at adjectives to describe the power relationship in either gay relationships or also in BDSM relationships? What are the different adjectives you can use? Surprisingly thin amounts of stuff that you can use. And I'm like, I'm just gonna make up words then. I'm gonna say teeth gritted.
I think it's very important that you went over it because they put Sonic's name first and then Shadow's name.
Yeah.
And in every pairing name, the top is always listed first and then the bottom.
Which is always the seme ex uke is how
Yes.
they look at that.
Also,
yeah.
to the one person who wanted to defend Shadow as being a tsundere, you are correct.
Oh yeah.
We all know that.
Yeah, but I wasn't gonna use that word because too many of you know that.
I would like to say that if your goal with doing that was to make the episode more like family friendly, I don't think that was the way to do it.
No.
But anyway,
He's closer to kind of an anti-hero character.
I
Paul.
had said by making the story less accessible in the way that I did, it probably made it more accessible to an audience because it's like, wow, he's being real fucking weird, and they can just leave it at that. But anyway,
let's go on to a very, very poor emulation of Doom on E. coli bacteria.
that was really cool. Yeah.
I mean, it's not good.
No.
But it is impressive. Sadly, unfortunately, this story is about how they basically were able to. There's been research and developed into this idea of being able to stimulate E. coli bacteria with a transferring sort of electric commands to stimulate E. coli bacteria to fluoresce in a grid.
You're basically making them part of a circuit.
And unfortunately, it does take quite a while for them to change from the fluorescing to non-fluorescing state.
8.5 hours, I think they said.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the thing that I found a real bummer, and it's understandable, but still. This was an MIT grad student project. It was just done as a simulation, like they had a very in-depth, I'm sure, simulation of how the E. coli bacteria would react in different circumstances and stuff.
Yeah.
But there isn't actually any shots of like a petri dish showing a Doom screen.
Yeah.
It's only a simulation of what it would do, which, I mean, I'm sure it would be like, such a massive waste of resources to actually do it in real life,
Yeah.
which I totally understand. Still kind of a bummer.
The setup of this, what I thought was cool too, is you're basically making it act as a monitor, like it's a display grid.
Right.
It's not actually executing the code. And
But
I wanted to try to get that across, and it was hard to do that in two sentences.
Unfortunately, that is something of a pet peeve of mine as well. In the realm of
Can it run Doom?
stories about can it run Doom? A lot of them are, we turn this thing into a display that can display stuff.
Yeah.
Like the famous, there's the one that came out a little while ago is like, which was running Doom on a pregnancy test.
Yeah.
And again, it's not running Doom on the pregnancy test. They just figured out how to send images to the little screen on the pregnancy test, and then ran Doom on like a Raspberry Pi
Yeah.
and send the images to it, so it looked like it was running on the pregnancy test, which is not nothing.
Right.
That is very funny still.
Yeah.
But it isn't. I don't think it would be. It's not Doom running on a pregnant. And
Yeah. There is a line there that you have to draw to say this versus that, which is I was trying to say that, like I said, so they could run Doom on it, and I'm like, I don't like how that sounds, but it's also late, and I need
It's-
to kind of.
and that's how it's reported all the time anyway. So.
And I should have said so it could display Doom, and I'm like, is that as fun to say? Well, whatever. But you made a lot of you go look for this project, and that's important. So you got to read about it.
All right, let's talk about a couple other things that didn't make it into the story or the episode. So we mentioned the state of play,
Yeah.
PlayStation State of Play. And I think they talked about it in the after show that these shows are mostly just like, here's a bunch of trailers, and which doesn't necessarily give us a lot to go on in terms of
Not really.
checkpoint,
'cause-
unless there's something particularly funny or new stuff.
Sometimes we know about some things that are going to be in state of play before it shows up. Sometimes there's surprises.
Yeah, I mean, I would really,
well, there's rumors and leaks
Yeah.
and things, right?
I played Death Stranding on Play It Forward.
Yeah.
And
they
I-
certainly would not shut up about Death Stranding.
And I
too,
enjoyed
would
it, and I enjoyed it. And the new trailer looks, as bonkers as one would expect. It did reaffirm my thought that I would love the mechanics of Death Stranding in a different game. When I think back to my experience playing Death Stranding, the parts that I remember fondly are all the parts between the Hideo Kojima story stuff, the going around, all the little you meet people, you're helping people out, and you have these there's little stories where this person is wants to get this thing delivered, or this person wants to go meet her family, or
Yeah.
there's these little stories. The overarching story is totally bonkers and ridiculous.
Yes.
And there's all this and all the sort of
More mundane.
all the for lack of a better word, Kojima-ified
the
parts.
baby and the weird parts. It sounds like you just want you'd like a different tone shift, maybe.
Yeah, it's it's interesting to see a game like that where the mechanics and the gameplay loop are really solid, but there's this sort of extra piece on top of it that totally changes the feeling of it in a way that I don't like. So it felt a lot like it was just making, I had to go through all this stuff in order to do the part that I wanted to do.
So you watched the Death Stranding 2 trailer reveal stuff, right?
Yeah, which again had some super cool. I was like, oh man, that looks really. Oh man, that looks.
Yeah, I skimmed through it because it kind of, to me, there was parts where I was like, if I want to play it, I already kind of know, and I don't want to see
Right.
some stuff. But they showed that that little puppet thing.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and
He's cool like stop motion puppet.
Yeah, he's at a different frame rate, and it kind of bothered me because I was just like, I feel like he's not janky enough compared to everything else. I inherently want to just remove him from my sight. He seems funny.
But it seemed like a cool thing. There's a cyborg ninja because they're Kojima really likes cyborg ninjas. It looks cool. But yeah, I don't know if I'm actually want to play it. But I want somebody to take the engine and all the mechanics and make a different game with them.
Yeah, I didn't really.
Fair. I feel you.
I watched the state of play later, which meant I could kind of fast forward through all the parts that I didn't find interesting. Because they always do like a huge horror game section, and that's not my speed. Especially because a lot of them like to be like, "Hey, look, we have a zombie mode now." And I'm like, yeah, that's cool, I guess.
Our horror game has a zombie mode.
9 new zombie games, and you're like, oh, that hey, look, the trailer went by in about 30 seconds that might have a rhythm aspect to it, and you're like, yeah.
They brought up Sonic, and I was like, ooh, Sonic. I like Sonic. Oh, wait, no, be careful. Not every Sonic is a good game. And then,
Correct.
They during the entire presentation, I was just like, so when are they going to show off Final Fantasy Rebirth? Because that's coming out soon, so they're going to talk about it, right? And at the very end of the show was when they were like, don't worry, we totally didn't forget, next week.
We're doing like a separate Rebirth event.
Yeah, which, I mean, makes sense if they want to do a deeper dive thing.
Actually, related to horror movies, but not a story. There's I just saw a thing this morning as a unfortunate dunk on one of our, I don't know if they'd be called a contemporary video game news thing, but Kotaku made a big oopsie boingo on Alan Wake 2. Just pushed out a new update, and one of the things that they added in this was that Alan Wake 2 has a mechanic where at certain times very scary things happen, and in order to emphasize how scary they are, the guy appears on your screen with like a flash. It's like and then disappears to jump scare you.
Yeah, we had that show up in the highlights, I think. Yeah, when the guys were playing that. Yeah.
And so the new update has options to minimize that because because people were not enjoying that.
Yeah.
And so but the other aspect of it is that it's also surprise flashing lights, which as we know at this point, maybe don't do that in your game.
Yeah. So what did?
So Kotaku put out an article that was like, or put out an article that was it was like Alan Wake 2 update for babies.
Good.
And then everybody dunked on them, being like, hey, adding accessibility options for people who have a problem with that is maybe a good thing.
Yeah. Maybe your take sucks.
And so what's great is that they updated the article. Where's the so new Alan Wake 2 update is for all you babies out there was the original title.
Good.
It has now been updated to new Alan Wake update is great for scaredy cats like me. So that's better. They've changed they kind of reversed the tone of it.
That's good.
Being like, oh no, I'm glad it's not too scary. And it's like, correction. This post previously disregarded the accessibility implications of this update. It has been updated to acknowledge the implications. Kotaku regrets the error. Which, so they fixed it. I guess in some ways there's a larger point about how, because of how a lot of these blog type news places are run, it's the content mill, right?
Yeah.
And so you find, I can imagine in the context of, ChillPoint or something,
Mm-hmm.
that like it's a game for baby or, a new thing for babies. And like that take being something that would be like, maybe we could do this. And then you sort of read about it and be like, maybe we shouldn't.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
if you've got to produce 5 articles per hour, bang, 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 maybe you just take you take the first thing that comes to mind, bang, 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 post
Yeah.
without thinking about it too much.
I mean, at the same
then that
time,
happens.
calling gamers babies for like having baby mode or whatever is very like 2010s. Like, I don't know, update your vocabulary.
Yeah. Hey, here's something that is depressing.
Great.
Oh, good. Love that.
Microsoft just did their earnings, their Q2 earnings, not Q2, it wouldn't be, their earnings call, I guess, for this probably would be for like 2023.
Yeah.
And talking specifically about Xbox stuff, and obviously a lot of stuff has changed in their gaming division over the last couple months because the Activision Blizzard thing has gone through.
Just laid off 1,900 people.
And they also laid off 1,900 people, which is this article is talking about how it's like. This is an article on Game Developer on GameDeveloper.com. It's talking about how Xbox content and services revenue increased by 61%. Because of the driven by the merger.
Mm-hmm.
Gaming revenue increased by 49% to $7.11 billion. And yeah, but no mention of the 7.11 billion revenue, which cloud gaming hours streamed increased 44% year after year. Blah blah blah. No mention of the 2,000 people they laid off.
Yeah, except in the headline.
Well, that's because the headline is remarking on the fact that wasn't
Yeah.
mentioned in this earning call.
It is one of my favorite things that when a news article interleaves here's what we've heard from the company. Everything's great and awesome and we made so much money. And then the very next paragraph, they're like, also the company just laid off this many people. Third paragraph, the company's doing great and we had a great growth in this area. Fourth paragraph, we talked with one of the people who got laid off and they had to say this about how their life is going now. Like, I love that kind of thing to be like, let's drive home the fact that the company doesn't give a shit about its employees.
Well, and it's this idea of, and we talked about this during the Activision Blizzard thing because there's the public facing statements versus the lawyerly statements.
Yeah.
And there's a similar thing to be like when you're laying people off, the stuff is like, well, we didn't meet the kind of the revenue targets that we were
Yeah.
thinking about. We certain areas we overspec, so we're having to close those down and stuff. But then when you're doing the earnings call, you have to talk about how great everything is, which often doesn't mesh
and I mean,
necessarily.
like, they just acquired Blizzard Activision. There were probably some people they were going to let go, right?
Yeah.
And
There's
that would have been
redundancies there.
redundancies and specific things. I don't know how many people are in things, but nearly 2,000 people seems like a lot.
yes.
That seems like a deeper cut than you really need to make.
Though you have to, you also have to look at how big is Microsoft as a company and what divisions did those people get laid off from. Not to say that it's like, well, as a percentage of total employees, it's a very small amount.
Yeah, but didn't they lay off some of the game devs themselves?
Yeah, there's always because you tend to cut across every aspect of a company except for management, and yeah, it's very.
Hey, Kodak did get laid off.
That's true. Yeah.
I think he
things
walked
are
out.
Yeah.
things are tough all around.
Yeah, not trying to make excuses for that because it's like, right, it's there's a lot of people who work for Microsoft and Microsoft owned companies at this point. And to have saying we're announcing 2,000 people are getting laid off or almost 2,000 people are getting laid off, it's like that's a statistically significant amount of people in terms of overall amount of people employed by the company, but it's not like they fired half the organization. But still, that's 2,000 people who now don't have jobs, and 2,000 is a lot of people. That was my high school. It's just everybody all of a sudden is like, you don't have jobs anymore. You know, like, I mean,
Yeah,
that's a lot of people.
Weird how everybody
It's-
at your high school got hired
it's
by
not
Microsoft.
like it'd be one. It'd almost be kind of one thing if it was like, oh, this layoff thing happened. It's
Yeah.
like cool. Oh, hey, guess what? It's like the 10th layoff story this week.
It is the worst because every company has been doing it, and it just starts to feel like, man, is anybody
Apparently,
hiring?
it's not just in the video game sector either. It's
No.
heavily in tech.
especially tech, but that's also.
I've been hearing journalism's been taking a hit too, in some
I
aspects.
mean,
like
they've
a
been
lot
they've
of
been
things.
they've been taking a hit for a while now, but yeah.
like, but it's not. It doesn't seem like a good thing.
No.
Speaking of, why don't we just get these all out of the way here?
Mm-hmm.
Speaking of people talking about their
Performance?
Tencent CEO and co-founder Pony Ma. It's a good name.
Yeah, I was like, hell yeah, okay, great.
They had their company's annual meeting, and if you recall, Tencent has had a bit of a. They've been having some. So, ironically, a not insignificant chunk of these layoffs that have happened at a bunch of different companies,
Embracer Group.
or other companies, like for instance the Riot layoffs and a few other ones, are actually secretly Tencent layoffs, right? Because like Tencent owns Riot and stuff,
Yeah.
and so they're basically Tencent, and this is also related to the Chinese government cracking down on like hours played video game. They've been doing a whole.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
the morality of video games. Yeah.
And so so Tencent has not been great has had some issues. But there's this great translation. Maybe who knows what the actual. I believe this is a translation from the Chinese. But gaming is our flagship business. But in the past year, we have faced significant challenges. We have found ourselves at a loss as our competitors continue to produce new products, leaving us feeling having achieved nothing.
It's a weird thing to say as a CEO. I've never heard that before.
Yeah.
It's just like, because I was saying to Heather that
We
I'm like,
have achieved nothing.
it would be a very odd feeling.
Especially a company the size of Tencent.
Yeah.
Like
and
how
the-
many games have they put out this year?
Yeah, the projects that have made it onto market, the amount of money that they've made, all these things. I mean, if I was working for the company and I'd worked my ass off all year and I'd kind of been biting my fingernails about, am I going to still have a job? And I worked really hard and like, and my stuff came out on time or early or whatever, but it came out and it was making money and I felt really good about it. And have the CEO turn around and be like, it feels like we haven't done anything this year. It feels like we've just kind of sat around and nothing happened, like nothing was produced. I'd be like, my contribution and the contributions of my peers do not matter to this person because they have a completely different idea of what they're trying to achieve with this company.
I mean, when I think about Tencent, the only thing I think that they do is that they own other companies.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know what they do outside of acquire and have stakes in other companies.
At this point, I think
they own some like I think Riot they own more, like some companies they own enough that they're effectively they effectively are like the first party developer for that thing for a few like mobile things. But yeah, they also just own little bits of tons of other companies. I think they own a good chunk of Epic.
Yeah, I think they do have quite a bit of Epic.
Anyway, we mentioned this in the post show, but the Spec Ops: The Line got pulled from digital storefronts.
I was racking
Some
my brain.
people found out that way.
Yeah, I was racking my brain to try to figure out wherein lies the humor on this thing. And
So-
I couldn't really see it.
My take on this was like, was them is like 2K has pulled Spec Ops The Line, and like they released a statement being like, in the way the world is going today, it's like kind of a bummer of a game.
Yeah.
We thought that maybe people shouldn't be playing it anymore.
Yeah.
Wow.
I'm like, it was a bummer of a game to play with when it came
Wow.
out. That's what
I've
made
never
it powerful.
heard anyone say that about a game before. It was a bummer of games, so maybe nobody should play it anymore.
Paraphrasing, but yeah.
That's
That's literally the developer, the designer of the game in a statement was like, the only moral choice is to not play this game.
Yeah, I remember that.
I want the player to not play this game, like to want to not play this game.
wow.
That isn't actually what happened. I don't think they've actually stated it, but it's almost certainly they've said it's some licenses surrounding it.
Yeah, it's
Almost
that- I
certainly
mean,
music
yeah.
licensing.
Yeah, and you're like, so okay, why don't you just relicense it? And it's like, well, relative sales. The idea is like if you have to go back and fight to get something licensed or pay for new licensing or anything else, and you have to try to justify purchasing it, and they know that you're a big company, so like you're gonna have to pay because we know that you could have millions of people wanting to play this game. It's like the game came out in 2012. The bulk of the game has already been sold. We're maybe getting another like 5,000 sales per year or whatever on this thing, and they're like, oh, okay, but still you owe us like over $1 million. It's like, it's not worth it. It's not worth it to bring F it.
Yeah, I
I
mean-
was like, and that's why I was like,
Melodica covers.
Melodica covers of
Yeah.
all the songs. Just do that and re-release
Has
it
there-
and make a statement. Like literally say, this is what we're doing from
I
now
think
on.
there have been games that like maybe don't like when they do re-releases if they can't get licenses of music.
Yeah.
The music gets subbed out.
It's
right, like
Yeah.
This I hate to do this because I know you don't have a lot of time because you're gonna have to go set up for a paper fight and everything too. But this kind of I'm so torn because on the one hand, if I write a song, if I make a piece of content, I want to be able to profit off the popularity of that. I want it to be like I wrote this song, people want to listen to it, they want to pay me 99 cents to listen to the song, so they pay me $1 for the song. I want that money because I'm like, yeah, I worked hard, I made a thing, and people like it, so I want to get paid for that. I know there can be limits on that where it's like everybody in the world wants to listen to your song, so they all paid you $1. I'm like, oh my god, that's $7 billion, right? Like it's like I just made a ton of money. That's fantastic. $7 billion less one. I've already heard the song. You wouldn't have to buy one either. I'll play for you for free. But anyway, that idea of you deserve to make money off of your your creations, right? And at the same time, it's also like if you license that to a project that is kind of, I don't want to say immutable, but like a movie. If you license a song to a movie, I don't think that they have to get a movie relicensed for its soundtrack, for external soundtrack. Not like I paid Hans Zimmer to write the score for this movie, but literally like I put this My Chemical Romance song at the end of The Matrix. I don't think that they have to pay MCR every time they say, well, we're putting The Matrix on a new service. I don't know how that works.
I think they have to if they continue selling the movie though. Like there may be
I
licensing
think
contracts for that.
I think it depends a lot on the contract. I mean,
It could be royalty based.
I think the agreement, the problem with a lot of these things is they were either sometimes they're written in a different there's a different environment, like when there's a lot of problems with like TV show things didn't have the license to put it on DVD.
Yeah.
Because that wasn't even a
Thing back then.
that they thought of.
Yeah.
But like the solution is not to just now you don't have to license it.
Yes.
Like the solution is that the artist should be paid properly,
Yeah.
and in future that should be built into the licensing process.
Yeah, and I think we've seen so much transformation and sometimes it's like, well, I'll license this for the movie because it's being played back in a movie theater and then that will go in an archive somewhere and nobody will give a crap about it after that point. And it's like, well, did you know we can play these things back on cassettes now in people's homes? It's like, well, now I have to ask for more money because now they get to hear my song again. But there's that thing of like adding someone else's art to your art. And now you're in this position of, like, I'm not saying don't pay people because I think that people do need to get paid, but it does start to feel like what you don't want to do is, because I have fun. I say, well, put a friggin' melodica cover of Jimi Hendrix's version of Star Spangled Banner at the beginning of Spec Ops: The Line if that's what you have to do to get the thing back out again. And I'm like, you could do that. It's the point that you're making is that like it's like in order to get this game back out, we would have to relicense all the music. It's just easier for us to have somebody come in here and just do covers. And then you're kind of saying the music was worth it when we released the game initially, but we don't think that music adds any value to our game. And what a horrible message to send there, that it's like your music was only worth it when it served a purpose at a certain time for us, and now your contribution is no longer worth it for our art. And that's kind of a terrible position to be left in, because it's like, I just want to get the thing that I made out there, and now I'm stuck with not being able to get it out there because I'm stuck. And yeah, it's such a thorny, complicated issue. I don't have a solution for it. Right. I'm not trying to make a solution for it.
I've only learned one thing out of this. Anything you make, I get to do for free. That's all I heard.
Great. Yeah, fair.
I mean, I think
it's been said on a recorded device. It's a legally
true.
binding contract now.
The idea that I think you also hear this stuff about, like, you know, because the licenses expire and stuff, and you're like, well, why? It's like, why did you license the music for 5 years?
Yes.
For a game that was just going to be sold perpetually.
Yeah.
Like, obviously you're going to, after 5 years, I guess the idea is that it's like, we'll renegotiate, and if it's not worth it, we'll drop it.
Look at all the money we saved by not having to license it in perpetuity. And it's like, yeah, you saved a lot of money.
but so then they can, and also then they can kind of present it as, well, we'd like to have it, but the musicians won't, we can't license the music again, so I guess we have to get, like, somehow it's the musicians' fault that they didn't do a perpetual license.
They might not have expected that they'd want to keep selling the game past 5 years in their initial plan.
It's true.
And there are a lot of games out there that probably have licensed music in them that only that were only good for about a year, that only had sales for about a year and then disappeared, right?
Yet another reason why it's nice when games have, like, streamer modes.
Yes.
Because then, theoretically, when the licenses expire, they could just swap over to only streamer mode.
Yeah.
Which theoretically is music that they have all the control over.
Yeah.
That's a nice theory. I suspect that if the music files are still attached to the game, even if you can't access them,
who knows?
There's a person who could. They're still technically part of the game. Like.
Well, they could, but
you'd
they
have
could
to remove it.
They could push an update.
Yeah, you'd have to push an update or something.
Anyway, speaking of licensing, remember we in the roundup of random Pal World stories we talked about last week or week 2 ago. There was mention of a guy who put out a mod, or was working on a mod to add real actual Pokemon into Pal World.
Yeah.
And that got the kibosh. That got the DMCA notification. He's back.
Did he fix it?
I forget what the guy's name is. Toasted Shoes is back. And
sounds like his feet are warm.
Well, he has, and now this has actually gone up on Nexus Mods, which is, one of the big central resources for mods. So it is available now. The Legally Distinct Pocket Monsters mod pack.
Or Pocket Creatures.
Creatures mod pack.
Yeah.
So they've gone through, welcome to the Legally Distinct Pocket Creatures into Pal World mod pack, which adds your favorite original pocket creatures to Pal World, which is not based on any franchise owned by an Italian plumber. This pack overhauls the game with the following included. It adds, changes Lamball to Braided Sheep, changes Cativa to Yellow Rat, changes Chicopee to Fat Cock, changes Hookertees to Educated Owl, Mamarest to Vegetative Turtle, Pangolin to Blue Penguin, Gumrose to Potted Onion, Fox Sparks to Firefox, Ethikadir to Floral. Basically, they've just gone through and changed all that.
Does know that Mario doesn't actually own Nintendo, right? He only works there.
Yeah, Bowser owns Nintendo.
Yeah.
Now, okay, so you say legally distinct,
Yeah.
and because I have two questions. We're going to start with the first one. You say legally distinct. Do they just all still look the same? They don't, do they?
Nope, they've been modified.
Okay.
Hey, look, here is Yellow Rat.
Here's your
I
yellow rat. It's
do
literally
not like
a
it.
rat standing on its hind legs, but it's painted yellow.
By the way, the red and white cap is also has been also added with this mod.
Right. So my second question is, okay, my second question is just actually me being cynical.
Okay.
What are the chances that this whole thing was dreamed up to operate this way in the first place?
Power World, you mean?
No, this
No,
guy's mod.
He did this so that people would pay attention to his mod, so then he would make changes so that people would still pay attention to his mod.
'Cause
It's the conspiracy that we
How
would go
fast? The only reason I say that is like, how fast was he able to modify the one thing into the other thing?
I mean,
Did he
that's-
already know he was going to be effed, and he's like, I better start making a different mod pack?
that makes sense.
Yeah. I don't want to ascribe a more cynical notion to this than maybe is necessary, because that's not fair. This is a person. Maybe they're fucking renowned. I don't know. Maybe they're making more money than I do in a year through all their modifications. I don't know. I don't want to be unfair to it, but it does make me wonder.
If you want to be a little kinder to it,
Yeah.
you could go with the idea that they hoped they could keep the Pokemon more related stuff in,
Yeah.
but still maybe were expected to go down. So
Yeah.
It is also apparently like a bunch of the thing. It's kind of a meme thing.
There's
like
that too.
apparently a bunch of the models are like totally either like very poor models
yeah.
or like clearly like asset flips
Ah.
or like they're very poorly rigged or different things like that. Like it's kind of just like we can add a bunch of stupid stuff in here
Right.
that are kind of reminiscent of Pokemon, just to kind of be trolling.
Yeah.
But
give it
So-
a month. Pal World won't matter.
I think that's
So-
also true.
Pal World has been accused of various things in terms of copying other people and stuff.
Final Fantasy Rebirth's coming out. Nothing will matter after that.
But you better not. But they also have been the victim. Because they put out
right.
they put out a tweet just the other day. Warning: there is no Pal World application for phones. App using names and product images such as Japanese name and Pal World are appearing in the App Store and Google Play. They are not affiliated with our company in any way.
Interesting.
We reported this issue out, which, I mean, that's the sort of content, or not even asset flips, but like very very similar games
It's,
being made in mobile spaces.
cash grabs more.
Cash grabs.
Yeah.
Often not even actual gameplay, just like
No,
complete
they're just
scams.
trying to make. They're just trying
They
to
just
put
have
out
like
stuff
screenshots.
as fast as they can that looks similar enough that uses the words that are currently popular on the internet.
It's
Right.
how 3's got taken over, and then 24/8 even got extended. Itself being
So
a
yeah,
rip
there's
on 3's.
essentially, for anybody complaining, accusing Pal World of copying and all this stuff, there's always a lower tier, there's always the it can get where Pal World, for all its stuff, appears to be a very legitimate game that
Yep.
people enjoy playing.
Yep.
Maybe it's copying a bunch of stuff from other games, either mechanically or in actual fact. Who knows? But it is a real game, and people seem to quite enjoy actually playing it. These games that are like on mobile that are just trying to get you to get the, are like Pal World, but with extra characters so that it, doesn't tie things. Those are just straight up scams. There's always a deeper level of heck
Yeah.
in terms of these things. But to end on a positive note,
Oh, good.
We have those still. We have
yeah,
positivity still. I could use some.
Celeste,
I like
Yeah.
Celeste.
a very positive game, which is, I believe, this is their 3rd anniversary,
Sixth.
6th.
Yeah, it's been out for quite some time.
That
It's
was the-
Celeste's 6th anniversary.
Yeah.
And extremely okay games. The rather self-effacing name of the company that makes Celeste has brought out a celebration called Celeste 64 Fragments of the Mountains, which is basically making Mario 64, but it's Celeste.
Yeah.
It looks
And
super
it's
cute.
available for free. You can download it on itch.io.
Yeah.
It is not all of Celeste. It is
No.
literally just the first part of Celeste implemented in 3D, because, man, that'd be a ton of work to
Yeah,
do the
because
whole
they
game.
made it over like a week or something.
it was a
Yeah,
game
in a
jam.
week. Yeah,
as
it was
part of,
just-
like a joke, a game jam thing, and
Yeah, they gave it
it's
some polish.
super
and,
cute.
Yeah.
The little chibi faces.
Yeah.
I want to
Yeah.
play it.
Is there...
It probably doesn't feel the same kind of precision platformer thing, because it is a 3D platform. Could you imagine? Holy shit. But yeah, it's an opportunity to indulge a little more in the Celeste project.
Well, they're working on Earthblade right now.
Yeah. They're currently in the
Yes.
process of finishing it. And I'm just like, I love that idea of like, we're still finishing our game. So we went away because we needed something different to do to take our mind off finishing this game.
Yeah. Well, I follow. It's Maddie, right? I
Yeah.
follow on Mastodon, and my favorite gig they did was to like a post a note that was like something like Celeste 2 ?
Yeah, I remember all that.
No.
Yeah.
And then like another post that was just like maybe.
But maybe.
And, yeah.
I feel like this is kind of an extension of, because of course in Celeste, there's also the other version of Celeste on the
Battleline.
from the Pico,
Yeah, on the Pico
Oh,
8.
the Pico 8.
the Pico
yeah.
8 version of Celeste. So like
It's
there's
also a lot of fun to play, actually.
there's already, so now we have, this is like the third, kind of almost the third version of Celeste
Yeah.
that we have.
Yeah, made by the same company. I like. There's
I'm going for coffee. You want anything?
Sure. Yeah. Why not?
Yeah, what do you want?
Chai latte.
Cool.
Sure, give me one too.
All right. Beach?
London Fog, please.
All right, sounds great. Bye.
Thanks, Bram.
No worries. Hi, chat.
I like the. I have no idea how much that got picked up on the mics, but we'll see.
Oh, they can hear it.
Yeah, good. All right, because I guess
Yeah.
Yeah,
that
it's-
mic is also live to
it's
chat.
Chat has drink orders. Oh, he's gone.
He's
Yeah.
gone. Sorry.
Maddie also. This is not quite as related to Celeste 64. Maddie also recently had posted a thing on. Go follow her on Mastodon. I don't know their account though, but anyway, they did post to an article that the Gay Times did that talked about how
Oh yeah.
it talked about how Celeste occupies a very unusual part of trans-facing games, because it's a game that doesn't wear trans on its sleeve, right? It's about that, but also isn't about that, because it's
very,
about
very sort of soft pedals that
Yeah.
aspect.
and the whole like everything you do in the game, from physical mobility to the mental work that you're doing, the emotional work you're doing in the game, parallels that process of trying to discover, are you transitioning? You're trying to figure out your identity. You're trying to figure out who you are, and it's all takes place before any of those things really happen to Maddie.
Yeah, and I think it's what's great about it is that it can, when I first played it, not knowing that aspect of
Yeah.
it, I took it more as just as the sort of, from the sort of mental health
Yeah.
aspect, and to me that felt true and sort of complete.
Right.
And I feel like it's neat that you can that sort of, depending on your personal sort of perspective,
Yeah.
you can you can get sort of a lot of different things out of it.
Yeah. It's basically acting as a mirror to everybody who plays
Which
it.
is which is for a game that is this essentially this like reflex based jumping game.
Yes.
It's quite amazing.
And one thing that they bring up in the article too is that it's like Celeste is so good at what it does that whole idea of like holding up a mirror to somebody else when they're looking at this game and they're getting this thing reflected back at themselves, the things that they're recognizing about themselves, seeing this thing in this game, is that it also when you do finally learn that this is part of a trans journey, that you're like, oh, but so much of this game meant something to me, but I'm not a trans person. And and that's the point, right? That it's like, right, because that part of that journey is the same for humans, is that all humans can go through this kind of stuff and it can all mean a different thing to different people. And you can all, making it part of your own like personal betterment doesn't necessarily mean that it's like, well, that means I need to change my gender. It just means like, no, maybe I'm trying to change something about myself that's different.
Sometimes you can go through learning stuff about yourself and find out that you are what you like. You've
always thought you were.
What you've always thought you are.
Yeah. Or that there are different aspects of yourself that you're like, I want to change this about me, but that doesn't necessarily mean that I'm making this that I want to transition my gender or anything. And that can be baked into that is baked into Celeste, is this idea of like, you don't know what's going on, but it's part of this discovery process. And I loved like reading that, because I'm like, I've never played the game. I'm not really big on precision platformers.
You can turn on a bunch of accessibility options to mitigate that. Like you can give yourself infinite jumping.
or an infinite dashing stuff. I think you'd said
stuff
as
like
well.
that too. Like there's all kinds of stuff you can do.
Yeah. Although there is an aspect of sort of the way. I think you can. It would be very enjoyable to play it with those, with the accessibility options. But there definitely is an aspect where there's sort of mechanical. The mechanics mirror the story in a way that maybe would be lost if you had that, but on the other hand,
depends on
you would also be able to play it.
What you're putting it up for, though, right? Like putting on infinite dashes doesn't necessarily make the game easier for a person who maybe has like arthritis in their hands.
Certainly,
things like that. Yeah. So you can still kind of mimic that.
Well, I think you can. I think it would be still very, very enjoyable.
I know a number of people who played the base game, and they turn all those things on so they can get to the strawberries, not catch the strawberries, but get to the point where the strawberry is that they want to try to catch, and then they turn them all off again because they don't want to have to play through the section to get to that point.
That makes sense.
It lets them get a lay of the level if they're trying to do a speed run thing. Or there's other reasons to do it.
Now, none of us have played Celeste 64 yet, right?
No.
I haven't had time this week.
I know. But I think it's I think it's cool that they were like, oh, we worked on this, and now here's more of this, and it's like, yeah, that's kind of neat.
Anyway, that was the last story that I had marked as a thing for this week.
Celeste is a good game. You know how I know? I've bought it 3 times.
Yes.
Ooh, so many times. Is that just on different consoles?
I bought it when it first came out.
Digitally.
So it was digitally. Then I bought a physical copy of it for Switch.
Standard edition.
But I could only get the standard edition. And then Fangamer released their own special edition version. So I grabbed that. Because that was essentially, I wanted the special edition.
Didn't they do a thing
with limited run, but those are always so hard to get, and they're too expensive after a while. I still need to play Chapter 9, because I keep putting it off. I think I just want to start the game over.
Didn't it come with like a big like plush flying
strawberry
or something?
The limited run one did. The Fangamer one came with some other stuff, including like a bandana and I think a pin. In fact, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, this is one of the Celeste pins from Fangamer. It's not from the box, but I like their artwork.
Yeah.
Anyway, thank you very much for joining us on this episode. If you haven't seen the ChillPoint that went up this week, you should very much check it out. If you're watching this on YouTube, it is probably somewhere near this video, like in the sidebar or something.
It might be like on your bedside counter or something.
Yeah,
it might be behind you right now.
If you find it, be sure to send it back.
Yeah, you know the mail time address.
Yeah. We recorded a couple of those yesterday, actually.
Mm-hmm.
Spoilers.
But anyway, thank you everybody for joining us, and we will talk to all y'all later.
Bye.